Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be guiding you through today's topic. We are diving into a clear, step-by-step roadmap for taking chaotic, sprawling data and transforming it into a trusted, beautifully organized semantic layer. If you work with data, you already know that keeping everybody on the same page can literally feel like herding cats. But today, we're going to break down exactly how to fix that.
So, picture this. Have you ever been sitting in a meeting where marketing, sales, and finance all bring their own reports and literally none of the numbers match? This is the painful reality of dashboard fatigue and metric discrepancies. Nobody trusts the numbers, and your data team ends up spending half their week just playing detective to figure out why one dashboard says one thing and another says something completely different. It's incredibly frustrating, right? Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our step-by-step blueprint to move away from that chaos and build a single source of truth. We'll kick things off with the dashboard chaos problem, then walk through 5 core steps: defining core metrics, mapping out data sources, implementing the medallion architecture, setting up security and documentation, and finally, starting small and expanding. All right, first up, the dashboard chaos problem, moving from confusion to trust.
Look, most teams start building a semantic layer completely the wrong way. They just pop open their favorite BI tool, create a few quick calculated fields, and call it a day. And sure, it feels fast in the moment, but 6 months down the line, it leads to a massive headache because all that business logic is permanently locked inside just one tool. Instead, we want to stop debugging metric discrepancies and start actually building new features. A well-built semantic layer is your ultimate savior here. By defining your metrics centrally, totally independent of any specific dashboard, you give your data team their precious time back. Moving on to step 1, define core metrics. And, as the subtitle says, talk to people before writing code.
Seriously, before you touch a single line of SQL, you have got to step away from the keyboard. You need to sit down with your stakeholders, whether that's sales, finance, marketing, or product, and agree on just 5 to 10 key business metrics that drive decisions. For every single metric, you have to document 4 vital things. First, the calculation. How exactly is it formulated? Second, the owner. Who is actually accountable for this? Third, the grain. Are we looking at this daily, monthly, or per customer? And fourth, the refresh cadence. Does it need to be real-time, or is a weekly batch totally fine? Getting these down creates your overarching metric glossary. I absolutely love this quote from our source material: "The semantic layer can't resolve disagreements that haven't been surfaced yet." You know, during this exercise, you might realize your company has 3 totally competing definitions for monthly active users. But actually, that is a really good thing. Discovering this now surfaces those hidden conflicts early so you can lock in one standard before anyone starts coding. All right, step 2, map data sources. It's time to inventory your systems. So once we know exactly what we are measuring, we've got to map out the literal home of our data. You do this by inventorying every single system feeding your analytics. Just look at the sheer variety you might be dealing with here. You've got transactional databases like PostgreSQL using federated queries, cloud data lakes like S3 where you're running direct scans, SaaS platforms like Salesforce needing API extraction, or even just humble spreadsheets synced on a schedule. Knowing what you have and how to access it is literally half the battle. Now here is a real game changer. Federation allows you to query data exactly where it lives, without the massive cost and complexity of building endless ETL pipelines. Tools like Dremio can connect to dozens of sources and present them all in a single namespace. This means your semantic layer spans everything naturally, without forcing you to duplicate data into a central warehouse or shuffle it all over the place.
Which brings us to step 3, medallion architecture layers. We're going to use a 3-layer view structure to refine our raw data step by step.
First up, the bronze layer. This is our preparation phase, and honestly, it's delightfully boring. It's totally safe. You create one view per raw source table, and you apply absolutely no business logic. Its only job is making the raw data human-readable. This is just where timestamps get standardized to UTC, cryptic column names are translated into plain English, and SQL-reserved words are fixed so they don't break things later on. Next is the silver layer, which is all about business logic. This is where the magic happens, folks. This is where your metric glossary actually becomes code. In silver, you join those bronze views together, deduplicate records, and filter out the junk. But most importantly, this is where a massive concept like revenue gets its singular, absolute definition. Every single downstream dashboard is going to query this specific view, no exceptions. And finally, the gold layer. This is the application phase. Think of gold views as perfectly packaging up that silver logic for whatever specific consumer needs it. So a BI dashboard might get a monthly revenue view, while an AI agent gets a customer summary view. The absolute golden rule here, pun intended, gold views never add new business logic. They just aggregate and reshape the silver views for top-tier performance.
Right, moving on to step 4, security and documentation, context and control. Look, a perfectly engineered, pristine semantic layer is completely useless if nobody understands it, or worse, if highly sensitive data is left totally unguarded. Every single table and column needs a description. And I know, that sounds incredibly tedious. But modern platforms actually use generative AI to act as this helpful little assistant that auto-generates about a 70% first draft of your documentation. It samples the data and suggests tags, taking all that heavy listing off your plate so your human experts can just jump in and add the unique domain context.
We also absolutely have to tackle security at this layer. We've got 2 main patterns here. Row-level security filters visible rows based on who's looking, so say a regional manager literally only sees their specific region. Then you have column masking, which hides sensitive data, like an email address or SSN, behind asterisks for unauthorized users. The crucial point here is that by enforcing this directly at the semantic layer, every single downstream query automatically inherits these rules. You leave 0 gaps.
Which brings us to our final step. Step 5, start small and expand, the incremental approach. Listen, if you try to model your entire organization's data landscape on day 1, you are going to burn out. Do not boil the ocean. Instead, follow this structured checklist for a low-risk start. First, pick just 3 to 5 core metrics from that glossary we made in step 1. Identify the 2 or 3 source systems involved. Next, build out one single bronze to silver to gold pipeline per metric. And finally, validate it. Run the exact same query in a BI dashboard and a SQL notebook. If those numbers match, you are good to go.
Once those very first metrics are totally stable, then you can start expanding incrementally. This careful, methodical approach proves to your stakeholders that the concept actually works. And because we use that medallion-layered structure, adding new sources later is an absolute breeze. Your changes are safe, they're isolated, and they won't break the foundation you've worked so hard to build.
So I want to leave you with this provocative question to think about. Which metric does your organization argue about the most? Seriously, think about it. I challenge you to take the blueprint from this explainer, define that exact metric explicitly in a Silverview today, and test it against your current dashboards. You might just uncover some of those silent inconsistencies that have been costing your organization trust. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now get out there and tame that data chaos.